Like many of you, I am still surprised when unexpected things happen to me. I shouldn't be surprised. Surprises happen all the time to every single one of us. Things happen. Unplanned, unexpected things. Sometimes the things that happen are good. We get gold medals. We live as we planned. We receive good fortune. Sometimes the things that happen are horrible. Sometimes we lose our way. We lose our chance. We lose our hope. Every one of us in this room have had some sort of unexpected, shocking, life-altering change. This unplanned, out-of-control change takes something from us. It takes a person, or it takes a job, or it takes our health, or it takes our money, or it takes our dream. How we react and cope with this sort of loss or disappointment and unexpected change is very individual and very unique, but our feelings are quite universal. What do we do when our dreams are not realized? When a sequence of events so unexpected and outside of our plans occurs? How often we wish we could go back in time, turn back the clock to that moment before everything changed so drastically. There are few things in life so jolting and somber as realizing that things will never be the same again. Dr. Stephen Yarnell has created a list of the 10 stages that occur when unpleasant things happen to us. This list expands upon the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross 5 stages of grief, which makes perfect sense if we understand that every major change that happens to us is in fact a death. It is a loss of something or someone. The first stage is denial. That it can't be. This didn't happen. It's not true. These are some of the words we say when we are in denial. Denial is normal if it lasts a short time, but persistent denial is unhealthy because it blocks our further growth and healing. The second stage is anger or blame, anger and blame, characterized by phrases like, well, whose fault is this? This makes me mad. This isn't fair. Why me? This stage of reaction looks backwards in hopes of finding the cause and trying to find someone to pin it on. Although nothing can be done at this point to change the past, it is a perfectly normal response. Like the stage of denial before it, anger and blame is unhealthy if it persists for an unreasonable period of time. The third stage is despair. This stage tends to be characterized by incredibly negative feelings, hopelessness, helplessness, a feeling of total emptiness and loss. We often don't sleep well or eat well when we are feeling this level of despair. Relationships with other people can become incredibly difficult at this time, but understanding and compassion must be given and accepted if one is going to be able to move forward beyond this stage. The fourth stage is perspective. In this stage, we begin to accept a little bit of the change, and we're no longer caught up in denial, and we're no longer caught up in anger and trying to find someone to blame, and we're losing a little bit of our despair. The problem moves into perspective, and we begin to feel less of a sense of loss and a little bit more hope. The subsequent stages reflect that healing is occurring. Stage 5 finds us able to come out of the withdrawal and the isolation that is inherent in those previous stages, and we are able to then begin to participate in normal relationships. And then, because we've lived through it and we've survived the experience, we discover that we have grown spiritually And in stage 6, we have spiritual changes that occur within us. Stage 7 brings us to acceptance, where we can have a bit of our self-esteem restored. We can accept the consequences and the boundaries of the new reality. Finally, in stage 8, we are able to smile again. We are able to laugh again. We are able to be healed by humor. There is a renewed sense of joy. Our activity and our action returns to us in stage 9, and in stage 10 we have new goals for our life. That sounds easy, doesn't it? I've given you a list that tells you what we do when we're faced with unpleasant change, but you might be reeling backwards this very moment, and you can't imagine how you're going to possibly get through the first 3 steps and end up with perspective or acceptance right now. You're pretty certain you're never going to smile again. If that is your situation, then I say to you, give yourself permission to grieve. Give yourself permission to feel that loss. If you don't acknowledge it, if we don't acknowledge the trauma of our loss, we will never accept it and be able to move forward. Take time to grieve. Take time to mourn. Feel your feelings. Feel the support of those who love you and the community around you. As you mourn, feel God's Spirit surrounding you and comforting you. One of my favorite Bible verses is found in Matthew chapter 5. Seeing the crowds, he went up on the mountain, and when he sat down, his disciples came to him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. In the book, Who Moved My Cheese, we encounter 4 characters who get up every morning, put on their running shoes, and navigate through a maze in search of cheese. Each day they go the same route, and eventually they find the cheese right where it was the previous day. They spend the day eating the cheese, and then they go home to their families and rest for the evening. The next day, they wake up, and they do it all over again. The characters in the little story are 2 mice named Sniff and Scurry, and 2 little people named Haw and Hem. Their names are, of course, significant. The biggest difference between the 2 mice and the 2 little people is that the mice are mere animals who function on pure instinct, and the little people have much greater cognitive and reasoning skills. So the significant event in this little story is that one day, the 2 mice and the 2 little people eventually arrive at the location in the maze that they arrived at every other day, but they discover there is no cheese there. All of the characters conclude the same thing. Someone has moved their cheese. The ensuing reactions and behavior of the 4 characters comprise the remainder of the parable. So very quickly, Sniff and Scurry, the 2 mice, realize that if they want to eat, they need to leave. They need to get back out into the maze and begin to search for new cheese. Haw and Hem, possessing much greater thinking abilities, sit down and try to analyze the situation. They want to find their cheese. Perhaps it's misplaced. Perhaps it's hidden. Surely, they think, someone will return our cheese. This is clearly just a mistake. So each day, the 2 mice scurry through the maze looking for new cheese, and the 2 little people go back to the place where the cheese used to be. And they try to figure out why it hasn't shown back up yet. We can quickly see some of the symbolism in this parable. The maze is the stream of life, the daily rat race. The cheese represents anything of value to us: a job, our health, a relationship, a person we love, a dream that we hold. When the cheese is suddenly gone, we have confronted change. Something has happened, and what we once had is now gone. How we respond to this change depends on who in the story we are most like. If we have a good nose for sniffing things out, we are like Sniff and we get going the minute we sense something's going on. If we are quick to act, then we are like Scurry, the other mouse, who was ready to go before he even understood fully what had happened. But most of us are more like the two little people. We tend to hem and haw over the change. We try to figure out what happened. We sit around and we wait for someone else to bring us our cheese. We refuse to even accept that the cheese is missing. We keep going back to the original, same, empty place, and we expect the cheese to magically reappear. Hem is the character who is most hemmed in. He is the least willing to move. Haw has a realization and eventually is able to laugh at how silly it is to sit and wait for the cheese to return. And he treks back out, quite reluctantly and fearful, into the maze in search of new cheese. In the end, Sniff, Scurry, and Haw do eventually discover new cheese, and Hem never budges. There is certainly more to the parable than this quick summary, so I encourage you to read it for yourself. Which character are you most like? Who or what are we waiting for? Who or what do we want to have returned to us? How much time have we wasted? It's not coming back. It's not coming back. We have to go find new cheese. Now, make no mistake, I don't mean to imply that the loss of your precious person is comparable to a piece of disappearing cheese, or that it would be simple to go out and find a replacement for that person. I'm encouraging all of us to go back out into that maze, into the stream of life, and find a replacement. Find a new career. Find a new opportunity, a new dream. Who knows what is waiting for us just around the next corner? Amen. The wise philosopher Marilyn Monroe once stated, "I believe everything happens for a reason. People change so you can learn to let go, and sometimes good things fall apart so better things can fall together." Now, we may or may not agree with that statement that everything happens for a reason, but I think there is great wisdom in that last statement. Good things fall apart sometimes so better things can fall together. I know that I have lived long enough to finally believe that. Out of the blue, out of no plan whatsoever, good and bad things happen to us. And we didn't deserve either one of them. But for me, having the thought that better things could fall together is irrevocable proof that there is a God who loves us unbelievably and helps us out even when we can't see it. Have a great Sunday and go in peace. Amen.